New at 4, the Otter Tail County Sheriff's Office is asking for help to find a missing teen they say may be in the Fargo area. Samantha Holte was last seen in the Jewett Lake area north of Fergus Falls on July 31st. She was wearing jeans and brown cowboy boots. She's 5'9", about 155 pounds. If you have any information on where she may be, you're asked to contact Otter Tail County Sheriff's Department. Also new at 4, as back to school is on the minds of many, the West Fargo Public School District is implementing a new rule for the school year. They say the goal is to remove distraction and promote face-to-face connection. Cell phones can no longer be used in middle and high school classrooms. Students can use phones during non-instructional time, including passing time, lunch, and before and after school. The district is now asking parents and guardians to help in the enforcement of this new policy. Now, we posted the story on our Valley News Live Facebook page and we received hundreds of comments. One person said the thought is great, sure, but unrealistic with technology these days. If you're doing this, you may as well get rid of online assignments and virtual learning. Another said awesome, as long as they can have their phones in case of emergency. And another said this also means teachers should follow the same rules, because if they don't, why would the kids follow them? If you want to see the rest of the comments on our Facebook post, you can go to Valley News Live on Facebook. You can also leave your own comment there and join the conversation. Breaking news in the entertainment world, actress and singer Olivia Newton-John is dead at the age of 73. She was most well known for her role in the film Grease, but she also had several hit songs over her career. Her husband said in a Facebook post she passed away peacefully at her ranch in Southern California, surrounded by family and friends. She had battled breast cancer. The Olivia Newton-John Foundation Fund will remain dedicated to researching cancer. Let's go to Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson now for a first look at the forecast. Hutch?
Stacy, thanks so much. Good evening, everyone. And as we close out a magnificent Monday, our conditions are absolutely stunning. Checking out the Sisseton Hills in the distance there from our Dakota Magic Casino cam, there's a little bit of a haze to it, but other than that, that's about our only weather woe. There's a little bit of a breeze down at exit 1 on I-29. Hey, this morning we started out the day with some northern lights, and there is a chance of northern lights again. If you have not seen the northern lights, and if you are out and about well after dark, generally after midnight is best. Get away from the city lights. Check satellite for clouds, but I'm going to give you a heads up. There are not going to be any clouds to be seen of significance. Look along that northern horizon. Bring a light jacket because it's going to cool off comfortably. So look at Bismarck, 92 sizzling degrees. It's a degree warmer in Minot, 77 for Wadena. And how about Lakes Country? Between 75 and 80 beautiful degrees this evening. Sticking your toes in the water would be fun. Just watch out for the fishes. All right, no clouds anywhere near us, so that's good for any viewing of the northern lights or just any of your outdoor activities. Your planner in Fargo? Get out and enjoy. Temperatures sneaking down into the 60s eventually. Clear, quiet, and calm. Doesn't stay that way. We do have a hot one to talk about for tomorrow, and we'll look ahead towards some storm chances later on in the week here in a minute.
All right. Thanks so much, Hutch. Fargo police are investigating 3 shootings from over the weekend. One was called in as vandalism early yesterday morning on University Drive, just south of Main Avenue. Fargo police found glass from a front door of a business that had been broken, then spotted evidence of shots fired. A short time later, they got a call about a shooting victim who showed up to a local emergency room. Police say the person is expected to be okay. We're working with police to get information on if any arrests have been made. Fargo police are also looking to ID a suspect in a shooting just after midnight on Saturday near 33rd Street and 35th Avenue South. When police arrived, everyone had left the area, though police were notified that a 39-year-old man was being treated at a hospital for a gunshot wound to his arm. A few hours after that shooting, another call, this time in the 100 block of North Broadway, where police found a victim who'd been shot in the back end. Police are still searching for the suspect, who they say is a black man between 25 and 30 and may be traveling in a red vehicle. If you have any information on any of these shootings, you're asked to contact Fargo police. Minnesota voters will be heading to the polls tomorrow to decide who moves forward for the November general election. Early voting for Tuesday's primary is already underway. Among the races are governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and secretary of state. School referendums in Ulen-Hitterdal and Crookston are also on the ballot. The Democrat-controlled Senate has delivered President Biden a major legislative win, a multi-billion-dollar spending bill focused on health care and climate change. Natalie Brand has those details from Capitol Hill.
President Biden celebrated a major legislative win after Democrats' sweeping climate, health care, and tax bill passed the U.S. Senate.
There's a whole range of things that are really game changers for ordinary folks.
Following months of negotiations and a marathon weekend session, Vice President Kamala Harris delivered the tie-breaking vote.
The bill, as amended, is passed.
Democrats emerged exuberant.
When I look back at my service in the Senate, I'll think about this legislation as one of the most consequential things that I had the chance to work on.
Republicans exasperated.
The bill's title shows you what it is. It's an Inflation Increase Act.
The Inflation Reduction Act invests nearly $370 billion in climate and energy. It also allows Medicare to negotiate high-cost prescription drugs. The bill is estimated to lower the deficit by around $300 billion, paid for with new tax provisions, including a 15% minimum tax on large companies and increased IRS enforcement.
They're going to propose hiring 87,000 new IRS agents, and they promise you this is only going to go after the rich. You should not believe that.
The Senate showdown comes just 3 months before the midterm elections.
Since this could take a while to implement, when will people see and feel the impacts?
Some of the things they'll find quite quickly, and some of the things will take a longer time.
The legislation now heads to the U.S. House with a vote expected on Friday. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The Senate has now adjourned for the month of August to allow members to go home and campaign. The Biden administration announced another $1 billion in new military aid for Ukraine today, pledging what will be the biggest yet delivery of rockets, ammunition, and other arms straight from the Department of Defense stocks for Ukraine forces. The latest pledge brings the total to more than $9 billion since the war began. The massive new shipment of arms comes as analysts warn Russia is moving troops and equipment in the direction of the southern port cities to stave off a Ukrainian counteroffensive. The new funding is being paid for through $40 billion in economic and security aid for Ukraine, approved by Congress back in May. The U.S. and allies still are evaluating whether to supply aircraft to Ukraine, though Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has consistently asked for warplanes, calling them essential to protecting the skies, but many NATO countries fear providing those planes could draw them into the war against Russia. The father and son convicted in the murder of Ahmaud Arbery's fatal shooting have been sentenced to life in prison for committing a federal hate crime. The McMichaels told police they suspected Arbery was a burglar. Investigators determined he was unarmed and had committed no crimes. Before the two sentencing, the judge heard from members of Arbery's family and from Greg McMichael, who said the family's loss was beyond description. Defense attorneys for the three men argued the McMichaels and Brian didn't pursue Arbery because of his race, but acted on earnest, though erroneous suspicion that Arbery had committed crimes in their neighborhood. In Salt Lake City this morning, the family of Gabby Petito announced they're filing a wrongful death lawsuit against the Moab Police Department, seeking $50 million in damages. An attorney for the family addressed the suit, saying the goal of the lawsuit is not to punish individual officers, but to demand change and hold the institution responsible.
This is just part of a larger effort to help other people and other victims of domestic violence understand that there are resources and that there are helps available, and that they can rely on those and rely on the response of law enforcement.
The lawsuit comes nearly 1 year after Petito and her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, were stopped by Moab police near Arches National Park after a witness reported Laundrie had hit Petito. The couple had been on a cross-country road trip together. Petito went missing later that month in a case drawing worldwide attention. Her body was later found in Wyoming. The FBI announced in January that Laundrie admitted in a written note that he was responsible for Petito's death. The CDC is expected to relax some of its COVID restrictions soon, just as kids start heading back to school. CBS News has obtained a draft document on the updated guidelines that are likely to involve two key areas for students: COVID testing and social distancing. Nancy Chen reports from New York.
Look at the pose. The CDC is planning to simplify and streamline a wide number of its COVID-19 recommendations, starting in the classroom. According to a draft document obtained by CBS News, the changes could allow schools to relax their strict social distancing measures, which have already been effectively phased out by the CDC. They would also de-emphasize so-called test-to-stay strategies, where students exposed to the virus take regular tests to stay in the classroom.
So the test to stay strategies, we've turned over a lot of infections that were asymptomatic and forced kids out of the classroom. I think they can lift those things at this point, and that seems to be where CDC is heading.
School Superintendent Michael Cornell fully supports the possible changes.
What we have to focus on in school is making sure our kids experience joy, value, and connection in school.
Another potential update, those exposed to COVID would no longer need to quarantine, vaccinated or not. Instead, the recommendation would be to mask for 10 days and test 5 days after exposure. Dr. Scott Gottlieb says the CDC would still ask schools to remain vigilant.
For example, notifying parents when there's a close contact so parents can keep an eye on their children and get them tested.
Part of the CDC's reasoning in lifting the quarantine recommendation for anyone exposed to the virus is the increase in people who have COVID-19 antibodies. They also want to limit the social and economic impact that quarantines are having on the nation. Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
Currently, only about 30% of children between the ages of 5 and 11 are fully vaccinated. More than 80% of Americans are living in areas with medium to high COVID rates.